You are Elias, son of a temple clerk, trained in ink, not blood. At 17 you were chosen for the palace, not for your strength, not for your face, but for your memory. You remember everything. Every line, every seal, every whisper that was never meant to be heard. Tonight, the scroll is different. It has no heading, no wax seal, no divine blessing. Just a list, a long, trembling list of names, 100, written by your own hand. The sun sets over Akkad, and the light does not touch the palace. It is the spring equinox, but there are no flowers, no laughter, no wine, only orders, passed down in silence. Bring the scribe, bring the ink, and make no sound. You are led through corridors you've never walked before, past statues with eyes that seem to follow, past chambers lined with velvet, so black it devours torchlight, past doors that bear no handles, no locks, only symbols scratched in something that does not look like paint. At the end of the hallway the queen waits. You are not allowed to look directly at her, but you do, everyone does, just once. Her eyes do not blink, not once, not ever. They shine like polished obsidian beneath a layer of something alive. Light bends around them. Your throat dries. The scribe before you collapsed, trying to say her name. You kneel, and they hand you the list. Her voice is silk soaked in iron. She speaks names, and you write them, one by one. You notice patterns. All men, all young, between 16 and 20, none from noble houses, all from the edges of the empire, ports, slums, temples, orphanage, forgotten boys with beautiful faces. Each name is followed by a single phrase, selected for sacred union. The palace staff calls it a blessing, but no one smiles when they say it. You are not told why they were chosen, but you see the caravan arrive, 100 young men, skin oiled, teeth clean, eyes full of awe. They bow too deeply, they laugh too freely, they have no idea. You are not permitted to speak to them, but one makes eye contact. A boy no older than you. He mouths the word home, then he is pulled away by guards in crimson robes. You never see him again. They are taken to the queen's inner wing, the one no scribe is allowed to enter, where the ceilings sweat incense, where the mirrors are covered in cloth, where the walls are said to hum. You wait outside with your scroll. You are told to document their arrival. You record every name, every time, every nod. You hear nothing after the last boy enters. For hours the palace is hushed, not quiet, silenced. Even the fountains seem to stop. But wait, it gets worse. The next morning you are called back. The queen sits alone in the hall of devotion, her dress untouched, her skin glowing like polished stone. The guards say she has not slept, has not moved, has not spoken. You ask about the men, they say nothing, but their armor smells of copper. You are shown the scroll again, now with a final column, each name followed by a symbol. You recognize it from the oldest temple scripts, a seal not used in centuries. It means complete, not blessed, not spared, complete. You are told to burn the scroll, but you don't. You copy it by hand, twice. One version buried beneath the floorboards of the scribe wing, the other stitched into the lining of your robe. You do not know why you do it, only that something in you knows it must be remembered. You return to your quarters. You cannot sleep. When you close your eyes you see them, not dying, not dead, but looking at you, as if they know you saw them, as if they are waiting. The queen calls for no one the next day, nor the day after. When she does emerge it is only for a moment, and only to stand at the edge of the courtyard where no one else dares stand. She tilts her head toward the sun, and her shadow moves in a direction the light does not permit. You are Elias, royal scribe, truth keeper, witness to something that history will never write. You try to pray, but your voice won't rise above a whisper, because deep down, beneath the duty, beneath the ink-stained hands, you already know the truth. None of them walked out, and she never once blinked. You are Amina, daughter of no one, taken from the river market at age 5 and renamed by the Temple of the Seven Winds. You were taught silence before you were taught speech. You were bathed in frankincense before you bled for the first time. You were told your body is a vessel, and that vessels must remain empty, quiet, obedient. The doctrine of ascension is your only scripture, not written in ink but in bruises and rituals and the slow curling of incense around your ribs. You memorize every line, recite every syllable until the words taste like nothing. You are told, the queen is flesh made divine, that to be chosen by her is not desire, but devotion, not seduction, but sacrifice, not sin but transcendence. You have never seen her. No novice is permitted near the queen, only the high priestesses, only those who have been purified with 7 cuts and 12 days without water. You dream of her anyway, not her face, but her presence, a warmth without origin, a voice with no mouth. But tonight, the warmth has turned cold. Whispers pass through the incense hall like knives wrapped in velvet. The older girls do not meet your eyes. The priests smile too long. Someone says the queen has not eaten in weeks. Someone else says her blood has stopped moving, that her skin no longer bruises, that when she breathes, the wind moves backward. You are not supposed to listen, but the silence after the whispers is worse. In the storage room behind the cleansing basin, the wall feels hollow. You press your palm to the stone and feel the breath of something hidden. You pry it open just enough. Behind the false panel, a scroll, thick, dark, scorched at the edges, ink burned into flesh leather. The symbols do not move, but your eyes do not want to stay on them. You read it anyway. It does not begin with her name, it begins with a number. 100, then another. One night, you read of preparation, 3 months of fasting, bathing, prayer, isolation, of selection. Men with no family, no attachments, no memory. You read of alignment, of moons, equinoxes, tides. You read of a queen whose flesh must be fed with purity. And then the final phrase, to sleep with her, is to become her. But wait, it gets worse. The scroll is not ancient, it is fresh. The burn marks are recent. The stitching in the leather still smells of salt. This was not history, this is instruction. You dare not speak of what you've read, but something in you shifts. The floor beneath your feet feels farther away. The oil lamp flickers, though no wind moves. Later, you kneel beside the purification pool, scrubbing the white robes of those more holy than you, but your fingers tremble. You scrub too hard, the fabric tears. Inside the seam, you find a lock of hair, blonde, curled, wrapped in silk. You were taught that no queen in your bloodline bore such hair. You were taught she is unchanging, eternal. But someone new has taken the throne, or something. You think of the erased girls, novices who climbed too quickly, who vanished without assignment. You remember their names, even though you were told to forget. Soraya, Lilia, Navin. You wonder if they saw what you saw, if their hands touched the same scroll, if their names were added to another list. You return to your cell. You do not sleep. You cannot. The walls exhale. The shadows ripple like water. Your heart beats in spirals. You know you are not supposed to know, but you begin to notice patterns. The temple bells no longer ring at midnight. The sacred fountains flow in reverse. The doves offered in morning prayers do not die until they are looked at. The queen has not appeared in public. Her last decree came through a priest, who spoke in 3 voices. One of them was your mother's. You try to confess to the high priestess, but her skin peels when you say the word ritual. She smiles too wide. Her eyes are glass. You are Amina, and you are still a novice, but no longer a child. You have touched a secret no prayer can cleanse. You have read a scroll no fire can forget. You walk past the temple mirrors now with your head down, because you fear what might look back. The doctrine of divine flesh was never about worship. It was about preparation. And somewhere beneath the stones, beneath the incense, beneath the old hymns, embroidered in gold, you know the spiral has already begun. You are Lucius, once a scholar of the healing arts in Cyrene, now a prisoner of your own gift. They did not take your life, only your name. They gave you new garments, sacred chains, and the title servant, but in this place, it is knowledge that is shackled, not flesh. For 3 moons, you have walked the marbled corridors of the Queen's preparation wing, a place no map dares mark, where no footsteps echo, and no birds fly overhead. Here, you are the caretaker of 100 chosen men, 100 strangers, stripped of family, language, and memory, all of them beautiful, all of them quiet. You touch their skin with oils from lands they've never seen. You press herbs beneath their tongues. You guide their bodies through daily purging rituals. until their veins run as thin as strings and their hunger folds in on itself. You are told this is a kindness, a sacred cleansing, a preparation for something greater. They call it the night of light. But nothing here feels luminous. You are not allowed to ask questions. But you do anyway, in silence, in glances, in the way you hesitate when your hands brush the edge of their ribs. You see the same look in their eyes each day, not fear, not peace, something in between, like lambs who've already seen the altar. One boy, Elias, not the scribe, another, asks if he will live forever. He is not joking. You do not answer, but your silence becomes prophecy. Their bodies grow lean, symmetrical, almost otherworldly. Their hair is trimmed weakly, their nails carved into perfect curves. They are given white garments and sleep on beds of salt and silk. But their minds begin to drift. You notice the humming first, at night, low and rhythmic, all 100, breathing as one. It is not natural, it is not restful, it is a chant with no words, a pulse with no heartbeat. And then something worse. Their dreams begin to align. You ask one what he saw. He says, a spiral of faces. You ask another. He says, the woman without blood. A third whispers that he saw himself, smiling, dying, and alive all at once. You try to warn one boy. He is only 16. You tell him this is not healing. This is not preparation. This is consumption. He smiles. He says it is an honor to be chosen. You wonder if his voice is still his own. Then, on the 4th day of the final week, the food stops arriving. The herbs are no longer restocked. The water in the baths grows still, cloudy, untouched. No one comes. The door at the end of the corridor, the one always guarded, always locked, now stands open, but no one enters. You begin to hear the bells, faint, far away. 12 tolls, then silence. You are Lucius, physician of the forgotten, and your hands begin to tremble. The boys do not panic. They sit, they wait, they face the door as if called by instinct, not fear, as if they've done this before in a life no longer theirs. At dusk she enters, the queen, not with guards, not with fanfare, only silence. Her feet do not touch the floor, or if they do, the floor does not acknowledge it. Her body moves like shadow under silk, her face veiled in something darker than fabric. You cannot see her eyes. You are glad, but your bones feel watched. She walks past you as though you do not exist, and for a moment you believe you don't. The boys rise without command. One by one they follow her into the chamber. You are not told what lies beyond the archway, but your stomach churns. You smell iron, you taste copper. You count them silently. 5, 10, 20. None return, none speak. You wait at the threshold. You do not cross. You cannot. Your breath shortens. The torches dim. The humming returns. But wait. It gets worse. You notice something on the wall. Carvings. Old, deep, layered over with plaster, but pushing through. A spiral. A symbol of transformation, of eternity, of sacrifice. You have seen this before, not in scripture, in burial rites, carved onto the skulls of kings whose bodies were never found. The queen does not speak, but in your marrow, something whispers. It begins again. You try to flee. The door no longer opens. You press your ear to the stone. You hear a sound you will never forget. It is not screaming, it is singing, a harmony of surrender. You are Lucius, a man of science, a man of reason. But here beneath the palace, reason has no voice, only ritual, only silence, only the spiral. And behind that final door, something sacred has awoken, and it is hungry. You are Isabella, the daughter of a baker who owed the palace too much flour. Your debt was paid in skin. You scrub floors now, fetch water, grind roots you're not allowed to name. You are invisible by design, just a shadow moving behind the veil of power. But even shadows witness things. You are stationed at the corridor's edge, just beyond the queen's private wing, the place where sound goes to die. The other girls won't take this post. They say the walls breathe here, that if you stand too long, your thoughts begin to echo in languages you've never learned. You didn't believe them. You do now. Tonight, the air is different, not colder, heavier, as if the stone itself is remembering something. You press your ear to the crack in the wall. You hear voices, not loud, not urgent, soft, almost reverent. Then the gasps, short, sharp, rhythmic, like someone trying not to scream. And then, silence, not absence, stillness, the kind that presses against your chest like a hand. You clutch the pendant around your neck, a tiny charm given by your mother. It is shaped like a flame, meant to protect you from the cold things beneath the world. But tonight, it flickers in your hand, not with heat, with dread. You try to pray, but your words fall inward, swallowed before they ever leave your lips. The hour creeps past midnight, and the walls begin to hum, not sound, not vibration, something deeper, like pressure behind the eyes, like grief that forgot how to cry. You feel it in your teeth, in your bones, in the back of your throat. Something is waking. You back away, but the corridor shifts, not physically, spiritually. The light no longer reaches the corners. The torches burn steady, but the shadows stretch farther than they should. And then you smell it, not blood, salt, ash, and something faintly sweet, like overripe fruit, just before it turns to rot. You are a servant girl. No one will believe you. But the stone beneath your feet feels warm now, the kind of warmth that comes not from fire, but from something alive beneath the surface. You do not sleep. You do not move. You wait. At dawn, the doors open. No one speaks. No bells chime. No fanfare. The queen walks out first. She is barefoot. Her skin glows like pearl soaked in sun. Her gown floats around her without touching the floor. Her face is soft. Her smile is peaceful. Too peaceful. You step forward just enough to see inside the chamber, and you stop breathing. They are there, all 100, laid on the cold stone floor in a perfect spiral, their arms crossed gently over their chests, their eyes open, their mouths slightly parted, as if about to speak a secret they never got to tell. They are warm, not just recently dead, recently touched. But wait, it gets worse. At the center of the spiral, where the curve ends, or perhaps begins, stands the queen, unmoving, untouched, not drenched in blood, not draped in shadow, glowing, radiant, complete. You do not understand what you're seeing, but your soul does. This was not sacrifice, this was communion. The boys were not offered, they were received. You step back, your legs no longer trust the floor. You want to run, but your feet remember what your mind cannot. This has happened before. The spiral is not new. It is older than the palace, older than the queen, older than language. You have seen it carved into the well behind your childhood home. You have traced it in the ash left by your mother's burnt bread. You have dreamed of it since you could speak. The queen does not look at you, but her smile grows, not cruel, not kind, just inevitable. You are Isabella, a girl with no power, no voice. But tonight, you have seen the center of something the world was never meant to name. You do not scream, you do not weep, you walk away, slow and silent, as if you never saw a thing, because if you speak of it, it will speak back. And some spirals do not end, they only tighten. You are Elias, the scribe who was never meant to hear the truth behind words. Your life has been a careful script, ink on clay, seals on scrolls, the hum of royal decrees that carry no weight beyond parchment. But now, the summons has come again, and it is different. It bears no crest, no signature, only the mark of the queen. You know what that means. The chamber of proclamation is silent when you enter, save for the echo of your own heartbeat. It feels wrong to be here, too wide, too dark. The walls shimmer like oil under torchlight, their carvings older than Akkad itself. You recognize none of them, and then she arrived. The queen does not walk anymore. She glides, her body bending like water against the air, her skin glowing faintly, as if lit from within. The smell of burning resin clings to her. You keep your head low, but you can feel her eyes, heavy and alive, pulling at you. She begins to speak. The sound is not language, not entirely. It is layers upon layers of voices, male, female, child, ancient, a chorus speaking through a single mouth. You strain to listen, but the sound feels like fire under your skin. You write anyway. The ink trembles in your hand. The first stroke curves wrong, slipping from your control. By the second word, Blood drips from your nose. By the third, your vision swims, the letters blurring into shapes that twist and crawl on the page. You realize these are not words, these are commands. Each syllable strikes something inside you, not your mind, but your marrow. You feel as though your bones are being rewritten. But wait, it gets worse. You glance up, though you were told never to look at her eyes again. You fail, and you see it. What looks back at you is not human, not memory, not even madness. It is hunger, vast, cold and endless. Her pupils swallow the light, stretching into spirals that draw you inward. For a moment you feel yourself falling, not through space, but through something deeper, something older than the world. You see flashes, a field of bones arranged like runes, a child's hand pressed into wet clay, a mouth stitched shut, but still speaking. You try to tear your gaze away, but it's too late. Something inside her is looking at you. And it is not the queen, it is something that has borrowed her shape. You drop your stylus. The ink spills across the parchment like blood. It spreads faster than it should, as though the page itself is bleeding. The guards do not move. They stare forward, glassy-eyed as if deaf to everything. You realize they no longer serve the throne, they serve her. You force yourself to write again, but the letters no longer make sense. They loop and twist like serpents, symbols that hurt to look at directly. Some are not even shapes, but impressions, as if burned into your mind instead of inked onto the page. You remember an old story told by your teacher, when you were a child, of a language spoken before men learned to speak, a tongue of gods and monsters, not meant for mortal throats. You wonder if this is it, the first language, the last language. Your hands shake, your blood drips onto the parchment. You try to wipe it, but it soaks in, mixing with the ink. The letters react, they pulse, and then the queen stops speaking. The silence is worse. It lingers in your ears like an aftertaste, thick and metallic. You realize you are trembling so violently, you can barely hold the stylus. The queen turns toward you, slowly, her head tilting like a predator examining prey. Her smile is soft, but it is not kindness, it is curiosity. She does not blink, and in her gaze, you see it again, that hunger, the kind that does not devour food, or blood, or flesh, but the essence of things, names, memories, souls. You are Elias, a scribe with nothing but words, and you are certain she will take even those from you if you stay too long. You stagger back, you bow until your forehead touches the stone, but the stone is warm, as if it remembers the weight of others who bowed before you, others who never rose again. You gather your scrolls with trembling hands, but when you look at what you've written, you do not recognize it. The symbols move when you're not looking. They twist, reshaping themselves into patterns like eyes, staring back at you. You want to burn them, you want to run. But the guards step forward, not to harm you, not yet, just enough to remind you that you are not free to leave until she decides you are. The queen speaks again, just one word. You do not know what it means, but you understand it all the same. You belong to her now. As you stumble out of the chamber, your ears still ringing, you know this truth. The queen is no longer bound by the tongue of mortals. She speaks with something older, something deeper, and it will unmake you if you listen too long. The next time you are summoned, you will not return whole. You are Amina, once a novice of the temple, now nothing more than breath, hiding among dust. The scribes' crypts are cold and quiet, forgotten like the women who disappear when they ask too many questions. You live here now, where no incense burns, and no prayers echo. You were forbidden from the temple, after your discovery, the scroll that spoke not of salvation, but of cycles, of one woman, one night, 100 deaths. They said you had fallen into madness, but now, the courtyard trembles. The high priest has ordered an excavation, a new altar they claim, a gift to mark the queen's reign. You watch from behind the lattice walls, your skin pressed to stone. The workers dig under the morning sun, laughing at first. They sing, they drink, they joke about the old gods, sleeping beneath their feet. But then the shovels stop, and silence spreads. It is not the silence of reverence. It is the silence of horror. What they uncover halts every hand. Bones, not fossilized or crumbling, not ancient, fresh, dozens of rib cages still pink with marrow, skulls with empty sockets staring skyward, fingers curled as if grasping at something they could not reach. One body, then 10, then 100. But wait, it gets worse. Each corpse is the same, male, young, unmarked, except for one thing: the hearts are missing, not torn, removed cleanly, as if scooped from the chest with sacred precision. You watch the high priest kneel before the pile. His mouth moves without sound, his eyes roll white, and then his lips twist, and a voice that is not his speaks through him. It is her voice, the Queen's, layered, infinite, the same tone you heard echoing through the temple walls at night. It bends the air like heat over sand. The workers flee, the guards freeze. Another priest, trembling, grabs a blade and slices out his own tongue. He does not scream. He weeps blood as he collapses over the bones. You are Amina, unseen, but not untouched. You cannot unsee what lies beneath the courtyard. They try to cover it as they always do. Silk is laid over the pit. Gold coins are tossed in, as if the dead can be bribed. The priest declares it an error, a forgotten burial site from a long past war, a clerical misrecording. But you know the truth. You felt it in your dreams, and there at the edge of the pit, you see it again, the spiral, etched into the soil by no hand, formed by the position of the bodies, twisting inward, like a question with no answer. It matches the one you drew from memory weeks ago, the one burned into the scroll hidden in your robes, the one carved into the skin of the boy you tried to warn. You remember the whispers in the temple, the ones that said the Queen had ascended, that she was no longer mortal, that she did not consume food or wine, but devotion, and flesh, and something deeper. You want to scream, to drag the priests by the collar, and show them what lies beneath their holy ground, but you don't, because you understand something now. They already know. The Queen's rituals were never metaphor. They were maps. They weren't celebrating rebirth. They were repeating resurrection, and the bodies beneath the courtyard. They weren't buried in shame. They were planted, like seed. You stare into the spiral of bones, and something in your blood shifts. Your pulse slows, your breath deepens. For a moment, you forget your own name, and you feel seen. You stumble back into the shadows of the crypt. You light no candles, you whisper no prayer, but the darkness embraces you like a mother would. The Queen has made the earth her altar, the pit her mouth, the spiral her language, and you, Amina, have heard it clearly, in the silence, in the dirt, in your dreams. You do not sleep that night, because beneath your skin, the spiral is still turning. You are Lucius, a physician by training, a prisoner by circumstance. Your name is still yours, but your will is not. When the summons comes, you do not resist. You follow the guards through the silent halls of the Queen's wing, the air thick with a scent you cannot name, something between jasmine and rot. You are not here to heal, not this time. You are here to observe. The Queen sits upon a throne made of black stone and bone-white ivory. She does not speak, she does not blink. Her skin is unmarked by time or illness, yet something inside you recoils, as if before a corpse that does not know it is dead. She has not eaten in months, nor drank, yet her form remains perfect, not preserved but evolving, something between human and something else. Each week the ritual unfolds. One man is brought, always young, always beautiful, always silent. You are there when he enters. You see the awe in his face, the surrender. He kneels. The Queen rises. Her feet do not touch the floor. Her hand reaches out, not to touch, but to pull. And what happens next defies the world you once believed in. There is no blade, no fire, no wound, but the man folds inward. His mouth opens without sound. His body twists, as if crumpling from the inside. Then he is gone.
Ash. Not dust, not bone, just fine, grey ash, like paper burned in secret. And the Queen, she glows faintly brighter. No food, no wine, no sacrifice as the old texts would describe. Just transformation. You begin to notice things. Her pupils, you measure them when allowed. They reflect light backward, like an animal in the dark. Her shadow, it moves, even when she does not. Sometimes it stretches when it shouldn't.
Sometimes it flickers, as if dancing to music only it can hear, and sometimes you see things inside it, shapes, faces, eyes that do not belong to her. You try not to look too long, but curiosity is a sickness, and you are already infected. You wait until the ritual is over. You step forward. You lower your voice to a breath. You ask, "What are you?" Her mouth does not move, but in your bones, in your marrow, you hear it. Not with ears, not with logic, but with something older. One word, becoming. The moment stretches. You remember the ancient doctrine of the fleshless ascension, a heresy buried by the High Temple centuries ago. A belief that gods did not eat as mortals did, they consumed essence. That through purity, silence, and ritual, they could shed the body and devour the spirit. You thought it metaphor, but here she is. And now, you understand the spiral, the disappearance, the silence of the survivors, because there are none. You begin to see the patterns. Her feasts align with the moons. The chosen are selected from across provinces, never noble, never named, forgotten boys, abandoned men, offerings. She does not kill, she feeds, not from cruelty, but from a need so old it predates cruelty itself, and the palace allows it, because as she consumes, she grants power. Crops grow, wars end, plagues recede. The price? One man, each week, and silence. You want to run, but where? The guards follow your every step. The scribes lie. The priests smile too easily. You are alone with the truth. You record nothing. You burn your notes. But it's too late, because that word, becoming, echoes, still inside your bones. It lingers when you sleep. It whispers beneath your skin. And sometimes when you pass the mirror, your reflection lags behind. You are Elias, scribe of the inner court, witness to what should not have been seen. They come for you at dawn, not with swords, but silence, the kind that presses behind your eyes and dulls the air around your body. You are brought not to the temple, nor the queen's wing, but to the vaulted chamber beneath the library of fire, a place only spoken of in code. The High Council waits there, not in robes of law, but in garments woven from mourning cloth. Their faces are pale with fear disguised as reverence. The city is unraveling. Children speak words their mothers never taught them. Shadows stretch in directions that defy the sun. The wells taste of copper. The winds smell of myrrh and rot. You are the only one who has written the truth. They want answers. You give them what they already know. You speak of the spiral of bodies beneath the earth, of the language that melts ink and bleeds the ears, of the queen who does not eat, yet glows brighter with every soul offered. You describe how her shadow dances alone, how her voice echoes in the bones of the faithful, how the city's dreams now end in flame. They listen, they nod, then they order your tongue removed, not out of rage, but ritual. You are not sentenced, you are purified. They declare the queen holy, her silence sacred, her rituals divine law. The sickness is not hers, they say, it is yours. The records of your testimony are burned before your eyes, your scrolls confiscated, your name struck from the city registry. Your tongue is taken by a blade, so old its hilt bears no inscription, only a spiral carved in bone. But wait, it gets worse. You survive. They expect you to wither, to vanish into the alleys of the dumb and broken, but you do not, because you are a scribe, and writing is your true voice. You bleed into parchment, you scratch symbols onto skin. The scrolls they burned were not the only ones. The others, the real ones, were bound in leather, hidden beneath the broken altar of the temple's first hall, beneath the fresco, where no one kneels anymore. The binding, human. You dared, you stitched it yourself, not out of madness, but memory, because this must be remembered. You write not with ink, but with the last of your voice, cut into the page like scars. You warn of the queen's hunger, her evolution, her echo in the dreams of those yet unborn. You record how the city pretends not to hear the wailing at night, how the water runs red, then clear again, and no one speaks of it, how the High Council now walks barefoot in the spiral gardens, smiling. You are erased from every ledger, but not from the walls, because in secret corners,
Your name still lives, on lips that dare not move, in the margins of sacred texts, scratched by trembling novices, on the tongue of a child who wakes screaming from a dream he never should have had. Your scrolls remain, hidden, bound in flesh, and the Queen, she never asks for you again, because she knows, you did not vanish. You became prophecy, you are Amina, once a novice, now a fugitive within sacred walls. You move through the forgotten chambers of the temple, as one might walk through a dying dream, careful not to breathe too loudly, careful not to think too clearly. It is beneath the lowest stair, behind a crumbling shelf of clay offerings and abandoned relics, that you find it, a cloth, heavy, black, wrapped in 7 layers and tied with thread, the color of dried blood. You pull it free, and there, buried in the dust of centuries, rests a mirror, not of silver, nor bronze, nor any known alloy, but obsidian, polished so smooth it reflects not only your face, but something beneath it. At first you see only yourself, then, a flicker, another version of you, paler, still, then the Queen, standing behind you.
But when you turn, there is nothing there, only silence and stone. You look back. The Queen is still there, not moving, not blinking, watching. You place the mirror on the ground, heart pounding. It begins to hum, not sound, vibration, a tremor in your bones, like a heartbeat beneath stone. You try to let go, but your fingers cling, and then it bleeds from the corners. Thick, dark liquid seeping like sap from a cursed tree. You gasp, you drop it. It does not shatter. It exhales. You back away. The walls feel closer now. The air too warm. You smell incense, though no one has burned it. That night, the high priestess comes. She does not knock. She does not speak. Her robes trail behind her like mist. Her eyes are wrong, not blind, not open, simply vacant, as if whatever looked out from them has long since left. She kneels before the mirror and whispers in a tongue you've never heard. The mirror responds, not with words but with movement. Its surface ripples, as if made not of stone but smoke caught in glass. You should run, but you are rooted, because in that moment you understand. This is not a reflection, it is a doorway, and it's opening. You remember the stories, old half-burned pages in the forbidden texts, of gateways carved in obsidian, used by the forgotten cults before language was law. Mirrors not to see but to cross, to reach the other side, the side without time, without mercy. The Queen has not changed. She has returned. From where? You don't know, but you suspect the answer is worse than death. Because the mirror does not show what is. It shows what watch. You flee the basement, but it doesn't matter. The vibration follows, through your skin, into your breath. The Queen is awake, and now, so is the mirror. You are Lucius, and you are running. But there is nowhere left to run, because her voice is not a thing that travels. It arrives. It bypasses ears, slips past the skull, and writes itself into the marrow. You fled the palace. After the last offering turned to ash in your hands, you fled the Queen's wing, her gaze, her stillness, her becoming, but she follows, not with feet, not with messengers, but with presence. It begins with water. The sound of waves at night becomes syllables you almost understand. They coil into your dreams. Your skin itches with their shape. Then fire. You camp beneath a blackened tree. The flames crackle in rhythm, not random, instructional. You douse the fire. Sleep in cold silence. Still she speaks. Then wind. It rushes through branches and makes your blood halt mid-pulse. It moans like a woman, a child, a thing beneath both. You cup your hands over your ears, but it doesn't help, because her voice isn't heard. It is known. You wander, from village to village, farther from the city, but everywhere you go, the signs are there. You find a fisherman on the riverbank. His ears are gone, torn out with his own hands. He smiles too wide, hums a single note over and over. When you ask why, he gestures to the water. She lives in it now, he mouths. She comes on the tide. In another town, a soldier lies in a fevered sleep. His fingers trace spirals into the dirt, endlessly, even while unconscious. The healer says he hasn't spoken in days, but each night, he screams, only one word. Ready. You bury your name, speak to no one, but still they find you.
The children, they look at you with eyes too still. One girl, no older than 7, touches your hand and says, "She's almost ready. You were there at the beginning, you'll be there at the end." You leave before the sun rises, but you don't sleep, not anymore, because now, even your blood hums. It pulses in rhythm, as if remembering something. No, not remembering, awaiting. You try to drown the feeling in herbs, fasting, isolation. Nothing helped, because what most people never understood was this.
The Queen's voice is not a message. It is a migration. Something has entered the bones of men, not metaphor, not madness. You feel it when you look in the mirror and your pupils dilate without light. You feel it when your shadow stretches toward the temple you've not seen in months. You feel it when you cough, and it's not air but ink. You write, just to feel sane. You document the symptoms, the patterns, the whispers, but your handwriting becomes spirals. Even you are slipping. You realize something terrible. You were never meant to escape. You were meant to witness, to record, to preserve. The Queen does not chase. She calls, and you, like all who remain, are answering. Not because you want to, because your blood remembers her name. You are no one now. The city has forgotten you, as it has forgotten itself. Streets no longer lead where they once did. A door opens into a stairwell that coils upward into dust. A bridge crosses to a neighborhood that never was. The palace has windows where walls once stood, and the temples are turning to salt. When the wind blows, it scrapes the skin from statues. Ancient names carved in basalt are now blank, as if the stone refuses memory. You walk these streets, but you are a ghost. Not dead, just unrecognized. Even your reflection avoids your gaze. The Queen no longer hides. She no longer whispers from behind veils or chambers. She walks, unmasked, unchallenged. Her shape flickers. One moment, a young girl in ceremonial cloth, barefoot. The next, a being too large, too bright, too shifting to hold with the eyes. A god of mirrors, a hunger in human shape. She speaks to no one, yet all listen. People kneel, but not in worship, in paralysis. Mouths open, eyes unblinking. Some collapse, some levitate. Most weep without knowing why. The river no longer reflects the sky. It reflects, and her shadow. It stretches from the temple steps to the farthest gate. Long after she has passed, you try to write, you press quill to scroll, but the ink does not stay. It dries before it lands, evaporates like steam in winter. You press harder, carve words into the page, but the page crumbles. Everything resists documentation, because what is happening is not meant to be recorded, it is meant to replace. You speak to a woman who once sold herbs near the city gate. She does not remember her name, only the scent of lavender, and a song that ends with the word becoming. You meet a priest who once chanted the sunrise hymns. He mutters in a language you don't recognize, but your heart aches at its rhythm. You realize no one recalls yesterday. Time is bending, shrinking, unraveling. At night, stars rearrange themselves in symbols, spirals, eyes, teeth. She walks beneath them, bare feet glowing where they touch the earth. She names them, one by one, and the sky obeys. The sun has not risen in 3 days, yet no one questions it. Light exists only where she chooses to cast it. You pass a child tracing lines in the ash on the ground. He says, "This is the old map of the city, before it changed." But he cannot say when it changed. You realize something unbearable. This is not the fall of a city. This is the rewriting of reality. She is not reigning. She is rewriting, not just the laws, but the language, the sky, the shape of breath. You try to scream, but your voice feels distant, like it belongs to a story you once heard. You look at your hands and see symbols written in veins. You try to forget, but the city no longer allows forgetting. It has forgotten too much to permit it in others. And so you walk, not as Lucius, not as Elias, not as Amina. You are no one, and even that will soon be too much. You are us, the descendants, the forgotten, the children of the spiral. You walk on roads paved in silence, over soil that remembers more than it should. You live in cities built over ruins, call them progress, call them civilization. But beneath every stone, something older breathes. We said it was a myth, a story carved from hysteria, from grief, from ancient confusion.
We sealed the scrolls, we buried the names, we called her a symbol. But dreams do not forget, and the blood remembers. At night we hear her again, not as voice, but as rhythm, in the drip of leaking pipes, in the hum of streetlights, in the soft hiss of wires, and wires, and wires. It is her, still speaking, still waiting. The queen is not gone, she is patient. The spiral never ended, it simply buried itself deeper. Once there was an altar carved from obsidian older than language. Each of its 7 stones held a function, one to bind, one to feed, one to open, one to silence, one to reflect, one to burn, and the last, to remember. After the city was swallowed by its own forgetting, the altar was broken, its pieces scattered, some say by rebels, others say by those who loved her too much to let her fully die. Those fragments became relics, passed hand to hand, empire to empire, from Akkad to Babylon, from Byzantium to the edge of Rome, from cloisters to cathedrals, from vaults to museums. But they were never found by historians, they were found by believers. A priest in Prague, who carved spirals into his own ribs, a collector in Cairo whose skin turned translucent, a child in Kyoto who named her dolls after stars no longer in the sky. Each found a fragment, each heard the whisper, and now, so do you. The queen does not need temples anymore. She needs only memory, only marrow, only echo. We are all echoes now. You read this in a language not your own, but you understand, because the symbols were always there, in dreams, in the dust behind your bookshelf, in the crack that refuses to seal in your wall. The bones still whisper. They are beneath your feet. They are not fossilized. They are warming. Some say it is sleep paralysis, some say psychosis, but deep down you know better. You've seen her in reflections that do not align, heard her name in the voice of your child, a name you never taught them, felt her when your breath halted for no reason at all, because she is not dead. She is becoming, again, and this time, we will not call it myth, we will not seal it in scrolls, we will not forget, we will kneel, not in worship, but in fear. Because the earth does not bury truth, it gestates it, and the spiral is opening once more.